days only fishing in the heart of London on the famous Walthamstow Reservoirs complex. I hope you enjoy it. The fishing was tough, early starts to make the gate and miles upon miles of walking. Oh my god, oh come on! For most of you, this place will need no introduction. However, for those of you that aren't aware of Walthamstow, it's a series of wetlands and it is home to some of the most incredible strained carp in the UK. I've been here before, but I wasn't actually fishing the reservoirs. I was fishing the small coppermill stream that runs along the side of it, and I've had some incredible sessions on there. Gene clear stream with carp up to 28, 29 pound, and it's really good sight fishing. So every time I've been there in the past, I've gone to fish the lakes and I've ended up getting sidetracked. Another thing about Walthamstow is it is days only. And again, that makes it a fair playing field. You can drive out, and if you've got the ambition and you've got the determination to get on that gate, you'll have just as good a choice of anyone else as swims. No swims are going to be tied up, and that's another reason why I wanted to do a video on here. However, that does make it all the more difficult, and the fact that I'd pigeonholed myself to one lake in particular meant that there was no going back, and I had to pull it out for the cameras. So, let's get started. Day one, like I said, I've never fished Walthamstow on the lakes before, so I was completely open-minded in my approach. I left the boat early in the morning, got on the gate just before 7. I was super buzzed. I bought my ticket and I couldn't wait to see how this short campaign was going to unfold. I walked down the path with a blinker on, not letting myself look at the Coppermill stream, and I headed towards the 2 and 3 reservoirs. This isn't the hardest lake on the Walthamstow complex, although after the fish kill there is still a pretty low stock. Locals reckon there's between maybe 80 and 150 carp in there, so for the size of the lake it's still not easy fishing. You've got the 2, you've got a small channel going into the 3, so it's one lake but they call it the 2 and 3. I started off, I walked into the swim, and surprisingly I saw signs of carp almost immediately in the first swim on the lake. It was a lovely little corner at the start of the 2, and there's loads of snags in that swim, and I saw quite a few patches of fizzing coming up. There was a lot of tufties there, so I couldn't be 100%. However, after looking for 5 or 10 minutes, I did actually see a common come straight out of the water. That was it. First session, knew nothing about the lake, but I'd seen fizzing and I'd seen a fish show. So as you can imagine, I'm absolutely buzzing, thinking, surely it can't be this easy. Surely I'm not going to catch one in like 10 minutes. I got the rigs ready. I'd already obviously had tied rigs in ready for preparation, but I put a little PVA bag on, a little pellet and Scopex squid boilie, and as quietly as possible, I flinged out some singles with a little bag on over where this fish had showed. Typical, it wasn't going to be that easy, and I actually sat over motionless rods for probably about an hour and a half that I hadn't seen a single thing show on that whole body of water in front of me. So it wasn't like there was anything else to go off, which meant the only other option was to reel in and head around to the other side of the lake. Just in time, my mate gave me a call. He was actually fishing at the opposite end of the lake, number 3, and he said that there was plenty of fish showing down that end, and why don't I come over and have a look? So I can't ignore that. Those fish have obviously disappeared in this swim, so I quickly packed up and I headed down to the opposite end of the 3. When I got there, it was apparent that there was a lot of fish in this swim. Now this was the end swim on the number 3, so you had a small island in front of you, and it was almost a bay to the right. It was the last swim, so no one else could cast into that water, and from the swim opposite, it was probably a 140-yard chub. It was apparent that there was quite a lot of fish in the really shallow water, sort of sunbathing against the rushes. But you never know. If the fish are there, they might drop down and take a bait. So I nicked a little bag on, the hooks were still sharp from fishing at the 2 an hour before, and I cast a single out, and honestly, the rod must have been on the floor for no longer than 2 minutes. I was getting the other rod out, and the clutch started spinning, and I almost couldn't believe it. And I grabbed the rod, and I was into my first carp, only an hour or 2 into my fishing. Literally, that had been out 2-3 minutes, and it's gone. I almost thought it was a seagull or something. There we go. Perfect start. Swimming towards me as well. Oh. To be fair, it does actually feel like a little one, but don't care. There's loads of fish out there. Pressure's dropping as we speak. There's a big thunderstorm coming, and it was obviously presented well because that went off within 5 minutes. Let's get this one in, get the rig back out. Yes. Well, unfortunately, it's not one of the old originals that I was talking about. I think this lake was stocked a few years ago with a few little ones, and unfortunately that's what picked up the hook, but you can't choose which one takes the hook bait, and there's certainly some bigger ones out there. So still taking that as a catch. A bite's a bite all the same, and it is a lovely little carp. In a few years' time this will be one of the special ones in here. But let's get it back, and fingers crossed the next bite we get is a slightly better one. Lovely little fish, isn't it? Nice and dark. Oh, me back, I feel like an old man.